Welcome back to Simplifying the State, the podcast where we break down politics so you don't have to try to figure out why Netflix is trying to establish a monopoly. As always, I'm Adam Watson.
And I'm Drew Garfinkel.
All right, now before we start, if you would be so kind as to rate us and follow the podcast wherever you're listening, and to share it with anyone you think would enjoy it, such as friends, family, or a random person you see at Qdoba. Okay, so today's topic is we're going to be talking about midterm elections, specifically if we think the Democrats can win and what our opinions are on the Democrats' chances of being able to win in 2026.
Yeah, because we're unbiased, we're going to look at the Democrats' chances.
Yeah. And then, next week we might talk about the Republicans' chances. And yeah. So, starting off with, I think I like the Democrats' chances of taking back the House. I don't know if I love their chances of taking back the Senate, because I think right now every House seat is up for re-election, and that's the way it goes every main election cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So that gives them a much broader area to compete in. In terms of races, a lot of the states
I don't know about that.
That are going to be up for re-election this year are fairly solid Trump states. So a lot of the Deep South, Texas is one, but Texas, I would like it to be competitive just because I think that would make for a really interesting race. But it's Texas, and traditionally Democrats don't do great statewide there.
Mm-hmm.
But the races I see as really being competitive in the Senate are Maine, North Carolina. Those could be possible Democrat pickups. They're going to need to hold Minnesota and Michigan, but maybe they could pick up Alaska, but I don't think they're running a really strong candidate there, and I don't think the guy in Alaska, I think Dan Sullivan is the senator up for re-election, is super unpopular. What do you think?
I don't know about the Alaskan Senate, but I agree with the rest of that. Right. We've seen this historically, almost like every election, the House, the party in the White House loses seats in the House, which I think we're definitely going to see. Mm-hmm. I don't know exactly how much, obviously I can't, but I'm predicting Republicans are going to lose a lot of seats, like 20-something maybe. I say it's quite possible because a lot of people are disenfranchised with the Republican Party as of now, and this could also drive some independent voters to lean Democrat this midterm, because right now things aren't going great, in all honesty. People are feeling the effects of prices. You can't turn on the news without seeing something about ICE deporting someone. It's just been one thing after the next, right?
Yeah, I think we're definitely seeing the consequences of some of the Republicans, and specifically Trump's more controversial policies and executive orders and stuff like that. I think to what you're saying about the historical trend of the incumbent party typically losing seats in the House and sometimes in the Senate, I think that will probably hold true. That's held true for almost every election since FDR. Right now, so to get a majority, usually you need about 218. Right now, the Republicans are at about 219. There are about 3 vacancies last time I checked. So, the Republicans are not in a great position.
Yeah, I think the Democrats could definitely take the House.
Right. But I think there's also another component. There are a lot of components to this, but I think a really important one is going to be what happens with those gerrymandering things. So, recently...
we talked about that.
Recently, the Supreme Court, this is really recent, the Supreme Court told Texas that it was allowed to go ahead with its gerrymandered maps. And there had been a stay by the Texas Supreme Court, said that they weren't allowed to. Texas appealed that decision to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court said they can use their gerrymandered maps. So that's going to be a possible 5 Republican pickups in Texas. But then that's, canceled out by the possible 5 pickups that we're going to see in California. But then you have other Republican states, right here in Missouri even. The gerrymandered maps they did, that's going to kick the Democrat over in Kansas City out of his seat probably, so they're going to get an extra one. They're looking at doing stuff in Indiana. Ohio, I think, was one of the states that was possibly on that list. So that could give them an advantage. I'm wondering, do you think that the advantage they could get from gerrymandering will be enough to counteract the possible amount of votes that could go against the Republicans in favor of Democrat candidates?
I didn't think about that, but I'd say yes, it could. There's a lot of time before the midterms. It's not a lot of time, but there's enough time for them to make a play, right?
Right.
When are the midterms?
The midterms are November
26th?
3rd. I think it's November either 3rd or 4th.
Basically a full year. So that's enough time for anything to happen, honestly. Like, I would love to revisit this in like half a year.
Yeah.
Maybe
I think
like
we will definitely
before the election. Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe look at this and see what changed, because there's so much time in between that I think the Republicans will definitely do something. Like, I feel Trump's going to pull something to get some more votes, specifically closer to the elections, as like his last hurrah before he's just a lame duck.
Right. Well, I mean, he is kind of already a lame duck.
He kind of is, yeah.
Yeah.
But like, it kind of cemented after that.
Yeah. Yeah. I was more so just wondering, do you think, and I mean, you kind of talked about this, do you think there could be enough popular support against, popular outrage at what the Republicans are doing right now that would basically counteract the possible like 5 seats they could pick up, I think was the number right now?
Yeah, like as I was saying, it's a ways away. People forgive and forget. But I think it's still going to be fresh in everyone's minds. It's not like all these problems are going to go away tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
yeah,
we're going to still be feeling this up until this election happens, is my guess. I'm assuming they're not going to get their stuff together, but by that time, I think it might be too late for them. I feel like they might cement their place as, okay, wait, this isn't good for the U.S. people. This isn't good for the U.S. economy. And maybe we need a change, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think you talked about it. The economy, I think, is going to be a really big driving thing. I mean, it's always a big driving thing in the economy, in the election cycle. And I think this year is definitely going to be no exception. I mean, you're seeing the impacts of Trump's tariffs. I think that's going to be a possible driving force. You know, possibly Americans wanting to see Congress put those tariffs in check, which they can technically do. You know, you could see, I mean, the Affordable Tax Credit, the Affordable Care Act tax credits, they're going to expire at the end of the year. That's going to be a lot of people kicked off Medicaid and Medicare, a lot of which are in Republican areas, in rural areas in states Trump won. So you could see some outrage about that. And I think just in general, I mean, Trump is underwater in his approval rating, and he's underwater in terms of how he's viewed on, I think, almost every issue, especially the economy. I think he's pretty underwater on that. I think it's double digits is what he's underwater with in a poll I was looking at the other day. And I think that's definitely going to be reflected in these midterm results. I think there was something that really triggered this for me, like that really made me want to talk about this, and that was the Tennessee 7th congressional special election. And I think that could be a really, really great tell for how this midterm cycle might go down. So for those of you who don't know, there was a vacancy in Tennessee's 7th congressional district. There was a special election. Afton Bain, the Democrat, was running against Matt Van Epps, the Republican. It being Tennessee, a fairly rural district, it was ultimately Van Epps won by, I think, 6 points or something like that. But it was projected to be a 3-point difference. That's really important, though, because even though Bain didn't win, and this is what's really important for the Democrats, Trump won that district by 22 points in 2024. Like a week ago, Matt Van Epps won it by 6 points. To compare that to 2022 in the last midterm election, there were 180,000 ballots cast in 2022 in that midterm election for that district. Last week, there were 179,000 ballots cast. So the amount of voters who came out was pretty similar, but the percentage which favored Republicans was definitely not. And I think that could be a really telling sign for Republicans, because, I mean, if a rural district like that with about equal voter turnout can swing that heavily, I think that's going to be a real warning sign for Republicans. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I feel like we're definitely going to see more of that, of like closer margins or even a flip. Well, not a flip, but like in the blue, as Democrats gain like momentum in this upcoming election. We're going to definitely see more of that.
Right. And I mean, for high schoolers, it's really important because, like, I mean, most of us are going to
vote. It's crazy to think about.
Some of us are going to be able to vote.
I won't be able to.
You won't. I will. Like, I'm going to be 18 by that point, so I'll be able to vote in this election. And there are a lot of seniors and a couple of juniors who are going to be able to vote in the midterms. And I think that, as we are, getting to an age where political participation in terms of voting is going to become really important, I think, it's important to kind of notice what trends are going on with politics. And I think that if the course stays as it is, I think Democrats have a pretty good chance of securing the House. Like I said, I'm skeptical about the Senate. Anything could happen, but I'm more sure about the House than I am about the Senate. But I think that the Democrats really need to get some kind of message going, because I feel like there is no unified message going on right now. What do you think?
Yeah. So going back to like high schoolers voting, what are your thoughts on like young people turning up to vote and like
I think
their perspective on like politics?
Well, first of all, I think it's extremely important that young people come out to vote, because I feel like oftentimes we feel like there is a disconnect between what's going on in Washington and what we are feeling and what we want to see done. And I think that the only way to remedy that is to show up and vote, to petition, to protest, and to do all these things and to participate politically. That's the only way we're going to see change on the issues we want to see change on. We can't just, comment online and say,
no, get involved,
Yeah, get involved.
Like, unless you have like a good reason, I think you should vote.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you should always, there are reasons you can't vote, and that could be like a whole separate thing, but like, it's so important for high schoolers to get involved politically is the main thing behind that. Young people also view politics, like I said, through this lens of pessimistic, like, skepticism, and like they don't feel like it's going to work for them. And I think that leads to people not showing up to vote and not participating. But I think that just creates a government that's not going to work for you. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you don't show up, if you don't participate, it's not going to work for you, because why should they have to compete for your vote and to earn your vote if you're just not going to do it?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was like leading you to. That's what I think too. I also think that some young people lean Democrat a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So that could also be a boost as these people get to vote. They'll be voting Democrat, which that could also help the case.
Yeah.
Again, how important it is to vote. How, if you can, and I know this is a ways away, but you should get out there and you should vote.
Yeah, I mean, if you register to vote as soon as you can, participate in every election that you can. I mean, there are midterms, there are general elections, there are local elections, there are primaries, there are elections going on frequently. And if you really care about something that's on a ballot, show up to vote. Don't stay home and then complain if it gets passed or a candidate you didn't want to win wins. Like, do something to be proactive when it comes to that, is I think the takeaway from this segment.
You don't even have to like go out there and like hold a flag and protest. You just have to
vote.
Cast a vote. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Simplifying the State. We will be back next week with our next episode, so stay tuned then. Make sure to follow us on Instagram. We're going to be posting stuff there. Again, make sure to follow this podcast to, show your support and to make sure you stay up to date whenever we upload a new episode. And we will see you guys next time.